Good afternoon, thank you. My name is Lou George. I'm the president, at least for another hour or so, of the Simsbury Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome all the guests. I'd like to welcome the recipients of the awards and their families today. I'd like to thank the North House for hosting us in this great venue. Earlier today, we had our business meeting. At that time, we elected our new directors and new officers, and I'd just like to read those off for everyone. For directors, our new directors, number one is Melissa Appleby of the town of Simsbury, Brian DeVoe, Fitzgerald's Foods, Brett Riel, The Ridge at Talcott Mountain, Isaac Adams, Farmers Insurance, Aaron Averett, Berkshire Bank, Tim Baker, Metric Financial, Pam Broderick, Caldwell Banker, and Susan Tortolet from Anthology of Simsbury. Those are our new directors. The directors then elected the new officers. President, Jerry Toner. Vice President and continuing Vice President, Dan Correa. Vice President, Joe Beal. Treasurer, Scott Gochin. And Secretary, Ray Lagan, also continuing. Next, I would like to call upon our pastor, Matt Blazer, from the Covenant Presbyterian Church to provide us with the invocation.
Not sure I'm our pastor as much as I'm a member of the community, and I'm going to tell two very quick stories because I know I'm not up here to tell stories. But one is my first interaction with the chamber, and Martin, I didn't tell you I was going to tell you the story. It's a cardinal rule of speaking. But right after I moved to Simsbury, one of our oldest members of the church was ill, and I was going to visit him in the hospital. I found out that Martin beat me to the hospital because of his friendship with this man. And it reminded me that not only neighborhoods and churches, but also groups of businesses care for one another. The second story is my last interaction with the chamber prior to this meeting, is that our church got a chance to host a team of people that rescue humans from prostitution. And they asked for a chair masseuse. And through the chamber, I got to not only find a masseuse for them, who was phenomenal, and pay that person, but tell our community more about what we're able to do through the chamber's help. And I say that before the invocation as a reminder of why we're here. For friendship, for networking, but also for our town and for the humans in it to flourish. And so I'm going to pray in a very broad way, because I know that we do not all share beliefs and we all have limits about our understanding of divine things. If you want to hear me pray differently, we can talk about that some other times, but I'm going to attempt to pray in a way to invoke blessing for our town. Would you join with me however you see fit to interact with prayer? God, we thank you for instituting town and community and commerce. And we ask that our conversations up front and our conversations around the table and our moments of networking and friendship would bless and benefit this town and this area. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Lisa Gray. I'm the Executive Director of the Simsbury Chamber of Commerce, and it is my honor today to tell you a little bit about our retiring President, Lou George. I first met Lou George over 19 years ago when I was hired by the town of Simsbury as a clerk for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Do you remember that, Lou? That was a long time ago. Little did I know at that time that our paths would cross again 14 years later when I walked into the basement of the Simsbury Free Library to interview for the position of Executive Director of the Simsbury Chamber of Commerce. Since then, I believe we've developed a mutual respect for each other. Having both been born under the sign of Sagittarius, we are very straightforward, saying what we mean and meaning what we say, and idealistic, always striving for perfection. We haven't always seen eye to eye. Some 7:30 a.m. meetings come to mind. He's a morning person, I am not. But Lou has always kept the best interests of the Simsbury Chamber and its members at the heart of everything he has done. He is a man of great pride in his lovely wife Gina and their 3 successful sons and his many achievements in the field of law. Let me simplify this. The best way to demonstrate our relationship is to look at what's been accomplished under Lou's leadership. The Simsbury Spooktacular Chili Challenge has been enhanced with the addition of a restaurant competition and touch a truck for the kids, and attendance grew to over 3,000 people. We hosted our largest ever Business Leaders Breakfast last year with 260 registrants. We've awarded $7,500 in scholarships to local graduating seniors. We hosted Simsbury's first public art trail with an estimated 30,000 people visiting Simsbury over the course of 5 months. We increased our global sponsorship income to support chamber-sponsored programs and events by 111%. We formed and expanded our Simsbury Young Professionals group. We successfully launched our Community Health Expo. And of course, let's not forget that we relocated out of the basement and into a beautiful light-filled office right in the middle of Simsbury. Lou, it has been, thank you. Lou, it's been my pleasure to work with you over the past 2 years, and I thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you, Lisa, for those kind words. And it has been a pleasure working with you. And yes, we were born a day apart. Yeah. So I'm going to do something a little different than normal. I'm going to read a poem. And yes, those of you that didn't know I was a poet, I didn't either until I came up with this idea. So please bear with me. I call it Community Responsibility. As our businesses grow, so does the calling for greater community responsibility. We begin to look for the organization that provides the right fit for you and me. We engage and volunteer and slowly get sucked into the world of helping our surrounding community. I was no different in seeking a great opportunity. Then one day, the call came in. It was Dan and Chip with a thought on how we all could win. Especially Chip, as he would retire from the presidency with a grin. Lou, you would be the perfect fit to succeed me. And then it came to be. I hung up the phone and said, yes, I agree. I sat back, what have I done? The awe-inspiring task of living up to the dedication of presidents of the past. I could only sit back and gasp. With the oath of office, just 2 years ago, I recall my first thoughts. What to do first, second, or third? Was it networking event, a ribbon cutting, or our chili challenge? No worries, just call Lisa or Lori, our tremendous staff. With them, it could only be accomplished with a smile and a laugh. Thank Dan for, he is the one that secured us Lisa Gray. Without her, there would be no easy way. Details, no problem. Follow-up, no problem. Passion, definitely no problem. And that is what it takes, passion from many, not a few. Because with many, there is so much more that our chamber can do. The first order of business was to continue to improve and build our events. The Business Leaders Breakfast was growing, but no, we weren't not done. We had to go to Hartford to have more fun. So we packed up our coats, and on a cold winter day, we landed at the Yard Goats. And what an event. It was our best Business Leaders Breakfast 100%. But no, just 1 year later, we just surpassed that affair at the beautiful Simsbury Riverview venue, which they were so gracious to share. Our chili challenge continued to grow. You ask how? We did this by using our brains. And let's not forget Dave Richmond for the use of his name. This year, however, the man above poured down the rain. No worries, just a small blip in the history of our great chili contest game. But it was new projects and events we sought. No worries, here comes Ferg with an idea we all bought. When we said yes, Ferg lit up with a smile, for he saw something that others could not see for a while. But when they saw it blossom to one of the greatest attractions of all, the art trail allowed everyone to have a ball. Now how do we top that with something new? Could we really think of something else to construe? Is there anything more to do? No worries, let's start with our new location, which will allow us to better serve, which is our vocation. Is that it? No. For 2020 will be the return of the Art Trail sensation to help honor Simsbury's 350th celebration. None of these events could be accomplished without the dedication of members new and old. Thank you, Dennis, Ferg, Mike Gerard, and Mike Payne, for without your wisdom and your contributions, there could be no gain. And to those with that community curiosity, I say, show your generosity, get involved and give of yourself. Make a difference, you'll feel top shelf. It'll be worth it. You won't regret it one bit. I certainly did not. Thank you and good luck to Jerry and the new board. So this time I'd like to recognize the outgoing officers and directors of the Chamber. First, Linda Canary, who's been our treasurer for 3 years. Linda, if you would come up here. There's a lot we accomplished, a lot we did. She helped us transition our fiscal year, which was another big task, and I thank her for all the effort and everything she's put in as the treasurer. Thank you so much. Next, our outgoing vice president, Nancy Sheets, who's been with us for 2 years. Thank you so much for everything you've done as vice president. We really, truly appreciate it. We have 3 retiring directors. I'd like them all to come up. Rob Britton, Bob Thompson, and Matt Whitner, who is not here. Come on. They're finishing up their directorships, and I want to thank them for all of their effort throughout those years. Thank you so much.
And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Public Servant of the Year. Kris Kelly, a lifelong Simsbury resident, was first elected to the Board of Selectmen in 1983, where he began what would become a lifelong dedication to public service. He served again from 1989 to 1995. In 2006, Kris was elected to the Board of Education, where he served for 8 years. In 2015, Kris was appointed to the Board of Selectmen to fill the remainder of Lisa Hebner's term when she became first selectman. During that tumultuous time for our town, Kris served as Lisa's deputy and took over her chairmanships and liaison assignments without missing a beat, thanks to his years of experience. Since then, Kris has been twice elected to the Board of Selectmen, where he continues to serve today. Kris brings a calm, thoughtful approach to all he does. His deep knowledge of our town and analytical style contributes immensely to the substance and quality of board discussions. Working with the entire board, Kris's accomplishments are numerous, and this is only a small sample. He has championed responsible budgets that preserve town assets and services while striving to keep Simsbury affordable for families and businesses. He played a leading role in the transition to a new form of government and the hiring of Simsbury's first town manager. He has supported recreation and an expansion of our bike trails. He rallies for historic preservation and supported a new park at the Flower Bridge. And he was instrumental in the passage of a water ordinance to protect this important resource. And we would be remiss not to mention Kris's support of pickleball. We are honored to name Kris Kelly as the 2019 Public Servant of the Year and thank Kris for his years of public service and the quality he brings to all he does. Please come on up. Thank you, Kris. And now I am honored to introduce our Educator of the Year. A staunch advocate, respected instructor, and compassionate caretaker, Janet Black is a natural choice to receive the honor as the 2019 Simsbury Chamber of Commerce Educator of the Year. Janet has been a leader in the Simsbury School's Family and Consumer Science Department for 38 years. During that time, Janet has been a critical facet of the department's growth and continued relevance in an ever-evolving world. In a society that some say has become automated and impersonal, Janet has never wavered from her commitment to teach important life skills to our students at both the middle and high school level. Janet recognizes the value of students learning to cook a nutritious meal, sew a button onto a beloved shirt, and balance money in a now electronic checkbook, skills that have gone by the wayside for many. She has also been a cornerstone of our school's caring culture. Janet is often the one planning celebrations for colleagues' milestones and life's sadness, reminding us all that we are stronger together and community is key. We thank Janet for her decades of service to the Simsbury community, forever impacting our graduates to be smart, productive, independent students, as well as kind and giving human beings. Please join me in honoring Janet Black. I would like to call Elaine Groundwater up to the podium. She is our Education Committee Chairman, and she is going to present our scholarship winners today.
Thank you. I'd like to present the scholarship recipients for this year. We had a lot of applications, and we're happy to provide these awards to these deserving students. If you could all come up at once. Brickanne Grushevsky, Simsbury High School. Rebecca Kazmarek, Simsbury High School. Amanda Marecki, Simsbury High School. Mary Meagle, the Master's School. She's unable to attend today. And Anthony Spica, Granby Memorial High School.
How are we going, Lauren?
Good, how are you? I'm just going to change the
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Congratulations.
So at this time, we'd like to present our Business Leader of the Year award. And to do that, I will call upon Dennis Jacobs and David Richmond to come up and present that.
So where's Ferg? Oh, Ferg, there you are.
Ferg,
can you hear me? So my relationship with Ferg goes back 35 years when he and his team opened the original Hopbrook restaurant in 1984. My wife worked with Ferg and Linda then, and we have become family friends and volunteers in this community like many others that Ferg has inspired. See, that's the man he is, someone with a passion for his friends, family, and community that we all live in. When I started my business here in 1991, Ferg was the first one to say, "You need to join the chamber." I, like many other people in this room who have been inspired by Ferg, are still here and involved today. But it's not just about the chamber business with Ferg, it's attending town meetings, speaking up for the good of the town, the schools, and its residents. It's sitting on other volunteer boards, groups, and their success for the good of our town. Ferg does this all, he does it all the time, and without looking for accolades for himself. Whether it's the Chamber, the Performing Arts Center, SCTV, the Flower Bridge, Government Affairs, Simsbury Art Trail statues, just to name a few, Ferg is there to rally the troops, lend a helping hand, and set the pace. After a little research of past recipients, this is not the first time this award has been presented to Ferg. He received it in 1998. That just shows he is still a sincere leader today and deserves of all the recognition that he gets. I'm always proud to be on Team Ferg Jansen.
First time I met Ferg,
I went up to him and I said, hey, what's your, hi, I'm David, what's your name? He said, Ferg. I said, no, what's your first name? So the way I look at Ferg is like the statues that we had this past year. He's an artist, is how he sees the town. The studier on the bench, Ferg studies the issues before he speaks his opinion. The mailman, because Ferg delivers banners, brochures in the rain, and burgers on the bridge. The stop sign. Ferg stops traffic with that big, huge truck he drives when he's doing all his volunteering and especially putting up signs. The only sculpture missing was the sculpture of a bartender. Because if you go to any of the events at the Meadows, there's Ferg always selling the beer at any event. And I think he enjoys that a lot. He's sincere. I've never been in a room with Ferg where he raised his voice. He thinks outside the box, and he makes the town of Simsbury a much better place. And on his way here today, he said to Linda, I don't have enough to do. I think I'm going to start mowing the lawn at Tower Ridge. So if you ever see me yelling at Ferg, he'll tell you, I can always hear David, even with my hearing aids off. So Ferg, thank you for all you do, and it's a blast getting to being on your team.
I'm going to let a little secret out of the bag. So when we decided and voted on Ferg as being Business Leader of the Year, it was unanimous, and it didn't take long to really decide that, given everything he does. So about a week or two later, Lisa had let Ferg know, and I got a phone call. It was from Ferg saying, there's a lot of people out there that really deserve this. I don't think you need to give it to me. I don't need any of this. And I said, Ferg, for the mere sake that you called to do that and offer it to someone else is exactly why you're going to get this. Your request is denied. And that's true. Now at this time, I'd like to introduce my new best friend, who's taking over as president. And that is someone who's been involved in the town for a long, long time. He's done a lot, and he's going to do great things for the chamber and our community. At this time, I'd like to bring up Jerry Toner. And congratulations, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Lou. I want to, again, congratulate all the award winners, just so well deserved. And particularly Ferg, who from time to time in a self-deprecating manner will say that he's been a member of the chamber since the earth was still warm. And I would probably say he's been giving good advice to the chamber and has always stepped forward. And I think many a meeting when things are being discussed, it seems like everyone seems to look to Ferg, for a nod of the head before we go forward. And I think it's just a sign of the respect that we all have for him. So Ferg, congratulations again. I'd like to thank the retiring board members for the great job that they did and the time they put in making the chamber what it is. It's truly appreciated. And I want to welcome the new board. I think it's a very exciting time to be on the board of the chamber, and I really look forward to working with all of you. I'd also like to thank Lisa Gray for the wonderful job that she's done, as always, in putting this event together. Lisa makes difficult things look easy, and this was no exception. I want to thank you so much, Lisa, for the wonderful work that you've done. I'm honored to serve as president of the chamber, and when I look at the list of the folks who've preceded me, it's somewhat humbling, and it's a group that I have deep respect for, and none more so than Lou, and for the great work that he's done, and at a time, you know, of a big transition in the chamber's time, moving out and into a new office space. It would not have happened without Lou's hard work and leadership, and I want to thank you, Lou, again, and echo the comments that have already been made, but thanks so much for a wonderful job. At this time, I'm honored to present our keynote speaker, David Glidden. David joined Liberty Bank as president and CEO on March 18, 2019. David has over 30 years of industry leadership experience. Most recently, he served as regional president for the Northern New England and Upstate New York region for TD Bank. He was responsible for managing retail banking, small business, wealth management, commercial and specialty banking operations, and lending services. David began his banking career at Shawmut Bank's commercial and division in Boston and joined TD Bank in 1994, embarking on a path that led to numerous positions of increasing responsibility. David is an active banking industry leader and advocate. In addition to his involvement with the Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and New York state banking associations, David has held several leadership positions with organizations such as BDC Capital of New England, Turnaround Management Association, Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, SIS Charitable Funds Treasurer and Trustee, and the TD Bank Charitable Foundation. He's also a member of the Board of Directors to the American Cancer Society, New England Division, and the American Cancer Society National Delegate. David was recently awarded the ACS's highest national volunteer recognition award for lifetime achievement, the St. George's Award. Please join me in welcoming David Glidden.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate that. And I was looking at my speech this morning. I had a little bit I was supposed to talk about my background, so Audra, I can just cut that right out of it. But good afternoon, everybody. And first off, I'd like to thank Martin and the Simsbury team for inviting myself and our Liberty Bank teammates here. So we appreciate the invite and really looking forward to becoming more part of this community. Lou, congratulations on obviously a very successful tenure, and there's never anybody as happy as an outgoing president, right? And then Jerry, congratulations on yours, and that usually means you missed the meeting of the nominating committee. That's usually how you become the incoming president. But and then lastly, I just want to congratulate all the award winners and the students as well, the scholarship award winners. So just a round of applause from us from Liberty. Thank you. I think, as you heard, Jerry mentioned, I've a relatively short timer with Liberty, joining the bank just about 60 days ago, and I'm reminded often by my Liberty Bank teammates and the board of directors that 90 days is the probationary period. So my plan here today is to not get over the tips of my skis on anything. So, but really, I'm thrilled to have joined Liberty Bank as their new president and CEO. And be in this role, and especially since it's such an exciting time for the company with our upcoming merger and partnership with Martin's team and the Simsbury Bank and Trust, just a great bank and company that they have built. So today, just these batteries. You know, what I want to do today is just kind of hopefully provide a 360-degree view. My first goal really is to be brief, but the second one is to provide a 360-degree view of Liberty as a company, as a financial partner, and I think very importantly is a community supporter. And then I'll share kind of the key foundations and philosophies of Liberty, and I think what we think makes us a special and a unique company. So let me begin a little bit with, as I've learned through my due diligence as I was looking at joining Liberty, the history on the bank. Liberty is Connecticut's oldest bank in existence. It was founded in 1825, and we're headquartered in Middletown, down the road a bit, in a brand new 90,000 square foot corporate facility that we're quite proud of. And we're a growing financial institution. We have more than $5.1 billion in assets from a size standpoint, and 55 retail branches throughout our footprint, and soon to be 60 with the merger with Simsbury Bank and Trust upcoming. And we're in a unique position as a local bank to be large enough at $5+ billion that we can offer really a full array of depository lending products. I have a large basket. We can grow with any business from a loan size and capability size. And we're really kind of stay focused, just like Martin and his team, to kind of dedicate it where the philosophy is really the same as we focus on the customer one at a time, like all of you do, I know, with your businesses here. But we have gained enough scale that we can, from a banking standpoint, really kind of remain and provide a one-stop shop for an individual on the consumer side, whether it's retail banking, investment services, but from a business standpoint as well, and able to kind of grow with whatever company's needs it is. Another thing we're very proud of, and we have another thing that we have in common with Simsbury Bank and Trust is we've been named a top workplace by the Hartford Courant for more than 5 years in a row now. And that's something we take great pride in, as I know Martin and his team do, and we have that. And recently, I'd like to take credit for that, but it was granted or announced right before my my arrival there. But recently, Liberty Bank was rated the 4th best bank in the country by Forbes magazine on their rating scale, which includes a lot of things, not just size, but how the investment in your community and your employees, all the rest of stuff. So things that we're quite proud of. And Liberty, as we're a mutual company. We're one of the largest mutual banks left in the United States. And what that really means is we're owned by our customers. We're owned by our depositors and our customers. We have no shareholders. We have no investor groups. We're owned by the customers. And that gives us a lot of flexibility in a standpoint of not having that, and I come out of nothing but public traded companies in my career, and it's nice not to have that 89th day where you're shaking because the quarterly earnings are going to go out, and you got to figure out whether you're going to throw Aunt Betty out the window to make your numbers. So it is a wonderful strategic advantage because it allows us to kind of invest more in our people and our customers and technology and in our communities because we don't have that pressure. Now, there's pressure to perform as a bank and a financial company, but it allows us to be a little more strategic because it's about what the real focus is. Think about a shareholder meeting. Our shareholders, we're sitting down with our customers and our corporators asking them what they want us to do. So Jerry nicely covered my background on my career and made me sound nicer than I probably really have from an accomplishment standpoint. So thank you for that. And like he had mentioned, I was with TD Bank, a great company, with them for 24 plus years in a lot of different roles. They're a tremendous company. I was able to grow with them. They grew. They're obviously became a very large national money center now. So different. But if you had asked me a year ago where I thought I would be, it wouldn't be standing here as part of Liberty Bank's team. It was going to be finishing my career with TD Bank. But when the opportunity came knocking, I certainly knew of Liberty, spent most of my career in the Northeast here, and the great reputation that they had. So when they came knocking to explore the opportunity, I knew in the same sense that if I was going to make a change after 24 years where I was happy, great company, it would have to be a special opportunity, one that would involve me moving my family and all the rest of it. But when I found out it was Liberty, I I went after it with a fever. So, and what really, a question I get asked a lot is kind of the new guy around the block. And I've been in and out of Connecticut my whole career, but now kind of specifically devoted and living here. What attracted me was really, kind of the values of Liberty Bank and the culture of it, the customer culture as well as the employee culture. And I'm big on that. I think, I'm looking at a business audience, so I think you all know it doesn't matter what size company you're running, you're in. If you're an individual entrepreneur, just yourself, it really is all about that culture. And I'm a big believer that if a company has no culture, it has no soul. And that's what really attracted me to Liberty. That was their reputation. And the more I went through the process with them, trying to convince the board to hire me. I am a salesman, so it took me about 6 months through the process to do it. But it really came true and rang true that Liberty it's a special place, and they have a great culture from an employee and customer standpoint. So. And again, like I said, that said, I've had the pleasure over the last 60 days to see all the similarities that we have with Martin and his team and Simsbury Bank and Trust, because they have all those. So, it was in April, Martin and I were just talking about, and at this table I was talking about, the upcoming conversion, all the rest of it. But April, even when we brought our teams together to start working on the upcoming conversion, the conversion, the legal acquisition and those documents, you let all that stuff, but the real work becomes of the actual conversion to make sure that both sides, all customers, that it's seamless to them, because that's Simsbury philosophy and that's our philosophy, and it's a lot of work. But even when we brought our teams together, it was a great moment. Martin and I could sit there and see how well they get along and how similar our philosophies are aligned. So really, I think two great companies with great culture, great philosophies, great people coming together. So, and I think both with the focus of keeping the best interest of our customers at heart, as well as the employees. So, Liberty offers an opportunity, I think, for Simsbury customers. I've had the pleasure of spending 3 or 4 days out on the road with Martin, who's tireless. I can see why he's such an important member of this community, joint calling on a lot of Simsbury Bank commercial customers, just to kind of let them get a chance to hear from me and Martin directly on it. And I think, like I said, what Liberty will offer and will stay focused on is offering an opportunity to Simsbury's customers to continue to grow with a larger bank. But the key distinction is, a larger bank, but still a local community bank. But still the same delivery system that Martin and his team has delivered, that you can pick up the phone and call me, or Gene Chagru, my senior lender sitting here, or Minnie, who runs retail, or any of us, because we're here. We're a local company like all of you guys are, and I think that's a big difference. And I think it was one of the things that made sense to Martin and his team from a partnership standpoint of when time came to look and say, who should they look around and partner. And we went calling on them. We went knocking on their door because we were so impressed. This is a natural extension of our footprint, and we were looking for opportunities to partner and grow, and we were just so impressed with what Martin and his team has built here. So that was kind of the start of it, and I think Martin and his team feel the same way, that our goal in this, and Martin and I talk about it all the time. Everybody's heard about bank mergers. I've been through 28 of them on both sides. And Dennis, they have not fired me yet. I'm like, the good thing about having like 4 or 5 states, I always say it's like kind of like a Seinfeld type. It's like, I was like the George Costanza guy. I had 15 different offices, not one picture of my real family. I got like the Kmart ones. So HR continually shows up with the cardboard box and say, where is he? I'm like, oh, I'm over here. I'm in Burlington, Vermont today. I'm sorry. So, and if you just wait that out, all of a sudden enough other problems go on with the merger that you just show up at the next meeting and say, where are we at? So, but I do want to just take, I want to be brief and take just a few moments to kind of talk about three key foundations of kind of our philosophy and I think what makes us a great company. And really, our first foundation or philosophy is really about community support and volunteerism. And I know that's important in communities like this, and it's important in all the communities that we serve. And, you know, Liberty, knock on wood, at least before I got here and currently today, is a very strong financial company. I just got here, Gene. Give me a little chance. But we also recognize that, you know, no organization or person can do it alone, and that you have to work together with your communities to kind of fulfill that mission. You know, I really believe in, you know, that Liberty, it's ingrained kind of in their, what we call our DNA, in giving back to the community. And it's just so important. And especially, again, as a mutually owned company, we have an obligation to do that because we're owned by our customers that live in the community. We're not owned by stockholders that are sitting in New York City or somewhere else that are bought us in a fund that are, you know, are looking for a return. You know, we have to look at our customers and the people we live by and see what they want. So, but it's really, you know, like I said, it's in our DNA, and I think what I've learned, and I know Martin and his team and my Liberty teammates, especially as community bankers, what you learn is, you know, when you're living in communities like this, it's, you know, giving back. I always say, you know, bankers, we get wrapped up in a lot of ratios, you know, ROA, return on assets, return on equity, ROE, and I always say, you know, I was taught at an early age when you know, return on investment, when you give back to your communities, and be it time or treasure, and it can be either, it's the best return on investment you can get, because I don't care what you give, it can all be relative, but you get more back than you give. And one of the things that, again, about Liberty, and again, about Simsbury, who punches way over their weight in that department, is that we know there's nothing more important than that. And we also know that, you know, it's important that our employees believe that and are dedicated to that as well. And I'm proud to say last year, Liberty Bank employees volunteered over 14,000 hours of just their time on top of treasure or donations aside. And they support all kinds of programs. We really promote that. We, in addition to everything else, we give them 4 paid days off a year just to volunteer to whatever organization is important to them. It's not dictated by the bank, because we realize that it's much more important and it's more meaningful that the employee ends up, you know, dedicating time and volunteering to the organization that means the most to them. And, you know, coming up in June, we'll also celebrate our 4th annual Liberty Lends a Hand initiative. So, and that's a month-long initiative where all our employees will be out in the 55 communities that we serve, volunteering, again, all backed and sponsored by the bank, and working with not-for-profits and service agencies that are doing so much in our communities, because everybody knows that the needs outstrip the resources. Another thing is, you know, we have a large and active charitable foundation that we've been able to fund over the years, and the Liberty Bank Charitable Foundation gives out approximately $1 million a year, and that's on top of whatever else the bank does to not-for-profits, as well as the Liberty Bank Charitable Foundation is fully staffed, so those staff members are out there working with the agencies and the communities and stuff, because it's not always just about the money. Sometimes they need resources, relationships, things that they can leverage from the bank on top of the donations. So anyway, so, you know, like I said, we've been financially sound and a very successful bank. We've experienced some great results. As I got here, I was amazed. My first day I got my picture taken, I was on the annual report. I was like, well, wow, I'm going to bring this home to my mother. There was these tremendous results in there. I was on the cover of it, and my mother looked at me and she's like, for Christ's sake, what have you done? I said, well, a little bit of Dave goes a long way. I just got there, Ma, don't worry. But no, just to kind of size and scope as far as kind of what the company accomplished last year and will again this year. We grew deposits by $150 million. We, from a lending standpoint on the commercial side, we lent almost $1 billion in new commercial loan originations. Have some very strong specialty expertise in resort financing and commercial real estate, and our small business area is going gangbusters, producing 400 new loans and approximately $40 million. So, and then on the residential side, our residential mortgage lenders originated approximately $250 million in new residential mortgages and well over $100 million in home equity loans. So, I think from a give back standpoint and a performance standpoint, providing the right lending and depository products to our communities, we're very proud of what we do. And I think, as a community bank, like Martin and his team knows, it's, you do need to take a more unique approach than a big money center who can just play the law of large numbers and blanket things and all the rest of the stuff. And I think, without a doubt, our community-focused kind of business model that's customer-driven, we're committed to carrying on and kind of growing what Martin and his team has done in these communities, and we're very confident that we'll be able to do that. Lastly, kind of on the community side, one thing I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we have a whole community development department, a group of very talented people that work for the bank that are just specifically focused on community development activities, making community development loans, which are the tough loans to make in some areas that we're not as fortunate as we are in these communities or most of the communities we live. We believe it's our obligation and the right thing to do to try to make those loans and help those communities kind of advance themselves. Additionally, that staff last year provided well over 100 seminars for first-time home buyers. And again, like a lot of our communities, you might not think someone needs a first-time home buyer seminar to figure out how to get a mortgage, and you know what? They probably don't. But you go into a lot of these other communities, their thought of owning a home is so far out there, they don't even think about it till, we sit them down and kind of work with them and have some specialty residential mortgage programs and kind of teach them, if they can't get there today, what that map needs to look like. And we do that kind of on the small business and entrepreneurial side as well. We run what we call a small business academies, throughout our footprint, and just did one in Hartford, and we'll have another one in East Hartford coming up. So, we remain focused on the customer and developing and providing the right level of customer service and products, and stay innovative, which you need to from a standpoint. The Connecticut's it's a very competitive marketplace. It isn't banking, but it is whatever your business is. We look at a lot of business. I haven't come across the non-competitive business yet. And Connecticut's certainly a competitive area to compete in, regardless what your business is. And I thought when I was taking the Liberty job, I was getting a little bit of a bump in compensation, till Gene told me to wait for your first paycheck, and then I was like, wait a minute, the net box here, the taxes, all the rest. But so obviously the state has some fiscal challenges, to say it lightly, that impact the competitive landscape for all our businesses. But the flip side is, the last 60 plus days, and knowing the state, but driving around, and Martin and my own driving around, you also realize, there's a lot of great businesses in this state, and this is a great state to live in. So something that we keep in mind. And lastly, one of the things I think is every company, it's really about, it's about the culture, but then it's about your employees and teammates, and that was one of the things that, again, struck me when I first came to Liberty. I knew they were a great bank, so they had a great culture, great reputation, so they had to have great employees. But I've been kind of blown away at the welcome by my teammates, and really kind of the quality of people, and really kind of how they care about what they do. And we're a big believer, and I am too, is, I think it was, Steve Jobs who said, it makes absolutely no sense to hire smart, great people and tell them what to do. And so we really try to stay focused on empowering our employees, especially the ones that are out in the field, because they're the ones delivering the customer service, and they need to be empowered to kind of make those calls, all the rest of the stuff. They don't need to call back to the center overhead, primarily because I don't know the answer. I would just have to call Minnie or somebody else. But I think it's another one of our kind of core philosophies of, how do you, banking's changing, so how do you really evolve and become a trusted financial advisor? It's not just about cashing someone's check anymore or processing a loan payment. It's about being that kind of trusted advisor, about figuring out what that customer needs and offering that, not product cramming or anything, but kind of offering that advice, that confidential kind of trusted advisor advice. And we count on our employees to do that, and we think we do a really good job on that. And like anything, we know when our customers feel empowered and our employees are empowered and succeeding, our customers will. When our customers will, the bank will, and all the communities will. So it's a simple formula. Sometimes it gets hard to follow, but it's a pretty simple formula. So kind of the favorite thing that everybody hears when Dave Glidden's up here speaking, in closing, Liberty's, we're very proud that we continue to be a leading company in Connecticut, a leading financial independent company in Connecticut, with a big philanthropic footprint and impact. And really, as we move forward in the next transition in our history, which is joining up with Simsbury and Martin and his team, my hope is here you leave today with knowing that we're really looking to build on what Martin and Simsbury has built, not take anything out of it. Really, I think we can kind of, like I had said earlier, it's an opportunity for a 1 + 1 = 3, and we know we have shoes to fill, and we think we have kind of the resources and capacity to do that and really, increase what Simsbury has done. But you have my personal commitment, and as well as I know my Liberty Bank teammates' commitment that we will continue to support these communities and like Simsbury has, and really look to hopefully kind of grow on that. So with that, I want to thank you all again for inviting us here. It's been great to be here. Martin said that just if I had a couple minutes, and I don't know if I went over or not, that just to ask, and if anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those. I probably wouldn't have the right answer, but I can entertain them. Yep, back there.
Not to put you on the spot, Simsbury Bank has long been a great benefactor and financial supporter of a whole number of entities around town.
Yep.
And is it reasonable to expect that Liberty will continue at least at that level?
Yeah. Yep. And you're not putting me on the spot. That's a great question, right? Because that's the first, it's the first thing a community thinks. And you know what? Most times, and I've been involved with a lot of them, most times the answer to that is, well, kind of, sort of, maybe, and then it doesn't really happen. But I can tell you that, yes, you can count on us to do that. I can tell you that throughout this whole process, that was one of Martin's key focuses. And we've made those commitments, and we've made those financial commitments. But the other thing is, kind of earlier back on what I'd said, I think, our business model doesn't really work unless we do that, unless we're kind of delivering the whole bank in these communities we are, and that's part of it, right? I mean, and it's not always what's asking, it's who's asking, and you have to understand your community, and we've been going through that with all the other due diligence aspects of things with Martin and Jocelyn. What have been the important organizations for Simsbury in these markets, because we want to know them, get to know them, and continue that kind of financial support. So it's not putting me on the spot, it's a good question, and it's one you should ask me. Yes?
Welcome to Simsbury.
Thank you.
We love our staff, our Simsbury Bank staff.
Yep.
Will we be able to still see the same friendly faces in our banks?
Yes, and another good question. All 5 of Simsbury branches are staying open. We're keeping them open. There's a little bit of overlap if you wanted to look at West Hartford, but they're 2 great branches. So all the retail employees and the branch personnel that you see from Simsbury will still be there and have been told that. So the conversion date is Friday, October 11th, which is the Columbus Day weekend. So we'll close that day. Simsbury will close that day, and then over the weekend we'll throw the switches and hope the ATMs don't blow up. And then Tuesday morning, those branches will open back up under the Liberty brand, brand and colors, but they're going to be staffed by the same exact people. And then, but that's not the only aspect or the only people that are part of Simsbury. So we've been working very hard with Martin and his team and trying to map over, and our goal is to really employ and bring over as many of the other employees, and we think we're being very successful at that to Liberty as well, because Martin wasn't exactly running a fat staffed model here. So we're coming into this and we're taking on all those customers, all those loans, all those branches. So we need people, and as anybody knows in this job market, sometimes it's tough to find somebody that can fog a mirror, and Simsbury's got great people. So, there's always, being 100% transparent with you, there's always going to be some job loss in something with this, kind of backroomish and duplication. But even now, with as much runway that we have between now and Columbus Day, we're sharing kind of on first dibs. Any of our open FTE recs, first dibs and first choice goes to Simsbury Bank employees that might be impacted, and we're trying to keep that number as low as possible. Okay. She's the photographer. She was getting ready to take a picture. I thought she was raising her hand. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what kind of camera that is. I'm sorry. So, no, hey, thank you again. I appreciate being here. I appreciate the opportunity.
So I want to thank Dave for coming and providing, I think it was timely for this event, and having Liberty coming into the community. And what great generosity by Martin and Dave. They told me earlier that if you have one of these programs on your table and you take it to any Simsbury branch or Liberty branch, they're going to be giving away free samples to all of you. So give them a round of applause. No, but again, thank you. In closing, I do want to thank a few people. First, I want to thank the North House again for providing this. I want to thank all of the attendees and all of the sponsors. And with regard to the sponsors, I want to go through those that have sponsored it. Anthology of Simsbury, Berkshire Bank, Bill Salick Jewelers, Budget Blinds of Simsbury, Christian Insurance, Farmers Insurance, Fitzgerald's Foods, Harper and Whitfield, Hassett and George, Metric Financial, Northwest Community Bank, People's United Bank, Sage Financial, Simsbury Bank, Simscroft Echo Farms, the Ridge at Talcott Mountain, and Westminster School. And I always do this before I end. Lisa, did I forget anything?
I think you're good.
With that, I want to thank you. We ended up right on time. So enjoy the few more minutes, mingle and network. Thank you.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.